Today on Shadows in the Forest, we're going to talk about and discuss what the 18th century woodsman and long hunter would be wearing at that time period in America's history. And it's just very easy to go from head to toe. And that's what we're going to start with today. So we're going to talk about headwear. And some of the things with headwear is it had to be functional for them. And it did serve a purpose, much like our hats of today. So what I'm actually wearing today is nothing more than a felt hat. It's not a tricorn, although it could be made into a tricorn. And a hat like this could be very easily transformed by just steaming it and rolling it into the desired shape, which is actually what I've done here on this one side. My hat provides me with shade from the sun, keeps the sun out of my eyes, keeps the rain out of my face. You know, I could collect things in it, and I could fan a fire with it if need be. They always didn't have these. Some people didn't even have long brims. Some people cut their brims to about 2 to 3 inches. And they were actually referred to as sailor hats. Again, I think it would be up to the individual as to what he wanted to wear. Something else that you may see is you may see they just take their neckerchief and tie it around their head. They didn't necessarily have to wear a hat if they didn't want to. Again, this is really no different than things that we do today. Or they went without. We have our neckerchief, and our neckerchief serves the same purpose today as it did back then. Tie it around our neck. We could use it to wipe our face. We could use it to strain our water. We can make tea with it. We can pour it, the water and the tea through that. It'll strain down into our cup, and then that way we effectively use it as a tea bag for the most part. There's nothing better on a hot day than just taking this, dipping it in water, putting it around our neck, putting it on our head, and it helps cool us down. So again, it's basically the same thing. It could be tied this way, around the collar of the shirt, or it could be just tied right close to the skin, just around the neck. Okay, what I have underneath my hunting shirt is basically just a common shirt. Okay, nothing great. There was the style of the day. It had a collar, it had a button up on top. It may even have, a little bit of personal touch with some initials or a heart that was sewn in here. It had a great bellows underneath the arm to give more freedom of movement. And they were cut at different lengths. If you were wearing knee breeches, they may be cut a little bit shorter. If you had a breech clout on, then it might be cut even longer. And if you were going to use it as a nightshirt, it may be even used or cut a little bit longer than that as well. It's a pretty basic style of shirt. It's made from rectangles and squares, and it's basically set in a T formation. And what I mean by that is, the way that it was sewn is that the shoulders come straight out to the side, and then you have the body of the shirt. Some of them could be ripped up the middle, okay, and made to wrap around in colder weather if you wanted to add more layers. And you can personalize your shirt any way that you want. Again, there's many different fabrics that you could use. There was linen, there was Osnaburg, there's linsey woolseys, check patterns. They had colors back then. Everything wasn't just brown and gray and natural linen colors. This is a check pattern. It could also be used. It wasn't just solid colors as well. So this will be one of the next shirts that I'm actually going to be sewing up soon enough. What you see me wearing over the top of my common shirt is basically a fringed hunting shirt. And there's been some speculation on when they actually came about. As far as my research goes, it shows that somewhere in the 1750s, around 1756 or around in there, when the hunters started going out, they wanted to have a functional garment that they could wear over the top of their clothes to keep everything underneath clean. Alright, this is done up with a lot of fringe, and we'll talk about that later when we discuss hunting shirts and common shirts and show you how to actually start to construct one of those. So holding my shirt closed is nothing more than a leather ring belt and a cotton sash. One or the other could be employed, or both could be employed. Remember, the sash and the belt buckle are in the back behind you, and that's to keep, your knife and any other accoutrement that you may have on your belt free from those items as well. Okay, it's easier to bend over and you don't get jabbed with a belt buckle or a knot if it's in the back. The knife that I have in the front is simply my butcher knife. It's my larger knife or my larger implement. It wouldn't be uncommon to have a smaller knife to do your smaller camp chores as well. You know, your fine carving tasks, maybe some food preparation. Choices on whether or not is you wore a type of pants, and what I actually have on is a pair of drop front breeches and knee breeches, and they are cut to the knee, and they are held in place by a series of buttons that run up to just below the thigh. On my knee breeches there's a drop fly in the front that's held by 3 buttons, and there is also a gusset in the back to help with, you know, comfort. As the breech clout became more popular, they tied a thong around their waist, and what they did is, according to Doddridge, in his description of it, is about 10 inches in width and then about 3 feet long. They would take the garment and they would put it through the thong. It would go down through the legs and around, cover the buttocks, and then back over the top of the thong, and it would be held in place in that fashion. Another design was a pair of French fly breeches, and that had the buttons going straight up and down. So to cover our legs, what we had were leggings, and they're wider at the top for the thigh than they are down at the bottom by the ankle, so that you can tuck them into your moccasins. These were made from a wool blanket, and it's nothing more than a tube. If you look at the side here, you see that there's a very small flap. It's only about 1 finger in width, and they went up to about 4 fingers in width, depending on how much you liked, you know, the flap on the side by the seam. They were traditionally made from brain tan, such as this. They were made of a linsey-woolsey combination, which is, you know, linen and wool, you know, which gives you kind of like the best of both worlds. And they were made out of linen cloth as well for the summertime, or if you're going out, you know, into town or things of that nature. If you were wearing knee breeches, which I am today, sometimes what they would do is they would take an extra button and they would sew it here, and they would hook the top of the legging onto that to keep it up. What I've done actually is I've just made a garter, which is another popular way. It's tied off to a little thong that's tied around my waist, and the garter is attached to that. We go lower, and it's tied off here just below the knee, and then finally right here down at the ankle with some blanket strips. Footwear for the colonial woodsman from the time in the middle colonies was essentially a flat shoe, and George Martin, who was a trader in Illinois, ordered several hundred pairs at one time for many of the woodsmen. They were a flat shoe with a very low heel, and they had a very simple buckle that was in the front. They were very slippery, of course, when they got wet, just like moccasins did. And as the popularity grew with the moccasin, the bucktail moccasin or center seam moccasin was employed. They were very easy to make. You could carry multiple pairs in your kit, and they didn't take up a lot of weight or a lot of space. The problem with them is you had to repair them most every single night if you did a long scout or a long trek. One of the other shoe packs for a Fort Legionnaire moccasin that could be employed lent itself very well to wintertime use, as you could make a liner to go on the inside of those. And they were a little bit heavier, and they almost took the best of both worlds between a shoe and a center seam moccasin. What I have here is a pair of center seam puck-toe moccasins. As you can see here, the puckers are over my toes and the center seam rides up here. I actually cut these higher so that they could wrap around my ankles. And I did this because I actually like having something come up a little bit higher. Historically, they would take their leggings and they would tuck them in to their moccasins to keep out debris and rocks of that nature. because I cut these this high, again, I actually have these over the top of my moccasins, and I've not had a problem with them since then. Periodically you may see me switch back and forth depending on how I feel that day. It's good to be back with Shadows of the Forest. I've been doing a lot of research. I've been trying to take a look at the more historical aspect of it. As I said in the beginning, I didn't think that I was a reenactor. I didn't think I was good enough to be a reenactor. Well, I still believe in that. I don't think I'm a good enough person or I have enough knowledge to be a good reenactor, but I am a student of history and I continue to do my research. So this is the first installment of 2013's Shadow of the Forest, and I hope to continue along. So until the next one, thanks for watching.